compró a la fiera del Est, perdu et soldi.
Il n'y a aucune raison que personne sache quoi que ce soit.
From a social drama about young asylum seekers in Belgium to an Afro-feminist blockbuster about the female warriors of the kingdom of Dahomey. That's all coming up in today's show. France 24's film critic Lisa Nesselson is here to tell us about some of the week's new releases. Hello, Lisa.
Hello there.
Lisa, first, though, we are going to take a look at a video posted on social media by French actress Juliette Binoche. It shows her, along with a number of other performers, cutting off pieces of their hair. A show of solidarity with Iranian women amid the ongoing protests sparked by the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died in police custody after her arrest by the country's morality police. It's set to the backdrop of a Persian rendition of Bella Ciao. We see Binoche, as well as Marion Cotillard, Isabelle Huppert, Isabelle Adjani, Jane Birkin and her daughter, Charlotte Gainsbourg, many others. Lisa, this is really an impressive cross-section of women here.
Indeed, it is. Some very prominent faces, from women in their 20s to women in their late 70s. French producers and distributors have invested in Iranian cinema for decades. Graphic novelist and filmmaker Marjane Satrapi made her autobiographical Persepolis here, the animated film. Years ago, at least 2 Iranian films were smuggled to the Cannes Film Festival out of Iran on USB keys in baked goods. The Iranian New Wave was written about and championed in French publications, and directors like the late Abbas Kiarostami or Jafar Panahi, who was very recently thrown into prison in Iran, have real followings among French filmmakers. So the connection is very strong.
Yeah, solidarity today and solidarity for many years before that. All right, Lisa, next we're going to talk about a film that is being billed as perhaps the biggest moment in Black culture since Marvel's Black Panther in 2018. The Woman King tells the story of the Agogie, an all-female group of warriors formed to protect the 19th century Dahomey kingdom, what is now Benin. In fact, the female warriors of Wakanda were actually modeled on the real-life Agogie warriors. So, Lisa, is this film a history lesson or an action picture or both of those things?
I'd say it's both. The fight sequences are genuinely exciting to watch. But for the history, take this as a jumping off point to do some of your own research. As proud Agogie warrior General Nanitska, Viola Davis offers facial expressions and body language that scream determination. She's a leader and warrior, the equal of any man, and that is recognized by her people and by her king. She is realizing her potential as an African woman some 200 years ago. Their kingdom is at war with the neighboring Oyo kingdom, whose leader is intent on enslaving the Agogie women because accomplished, self-possessed chicks who are warriors just rub him the wrong way. King Gizzo's wealth was built on selling Africans to slavers from the Dahomey port of Ouda, but the king says he wants to put an end to this vile tradition. We follow 19-year-old recruit Nawi, whose father rejected her when she refused an arranged marriage with a wealthy older man. And she didn't refuse him by saying, oh, I'd rather not. She refused it by biting him as hard as she could. So she might just have what it takes to become an Agogie.
All right, well, let's take a look at the ambitious imagery of The Woman King and hear from Viola Davis at the London premiere this week.
You are called to join the King's Guard. No kingdom in all of Africa shares this privilege. Train hard, fight harder. We fear no one. And we fear no pain. I offer you a choice. Fight or we die.
I challenge my body. And as a woman, we're never asked to challenge our bodies. We're asked to just be adornment. And for me to challenge the strength of my body and to see what I was capable of was absolutely liberating.
The film certainly looks quite epic, Lisa. What did you think of it?
Well, my stance is that what we always need is good stories well told. This has the makings of a very good story, but I wish it had been better told. It follows the traditional path of a sports or military tale. It's about being good enough to make the team so you can serve your king and protect your people. And it's about absolute solidarity and fearlessness, sacrifice and earned wisdom, and of course, sisterhood. The film is not shy about pointing out that many Africans ended up as slaves in the New World because their fellow dark-skinned Africans captured them and sold them to foreigners. I actually didn't enjoy this much, but the audience of about 500 people I saw it with on a Sunday night really seemed to.
Well, I'm excited to check it out. We'll see. The next film, Lisa, you're going to tell us about is from the highly acclaimed Dardenne brothers of Belgium. They've been making movies about disenfranchised people since the late 1970s. They've won the top prize twice at Cannes. Their latest film, Tori and Lokita, follows the relentlessly difficult lives of two young asylum seekers. Now, this film won the 75th anniversary prize at Cannes this year. Was it well-deserved?
Absolutely. This is a deeply layered film about two young people in perpetually dire straits, just trying to get by until they hope they are granted official asylum status and can set about building more stable lives. They're smart, resourceful, incredibly hardworking, and stuck between a rock and a hard place and an adjacent other rock and other hard place. It's a story of brain cells and cell phones, hope in hopeless settings, dog-eat-dog severity with no margin to screw up. This is a matter-of-fact portrayal of sexual exploitation to go with the financial exploitation. The pressures these two are juggling are intense and constant, and that makes the proceedings both harrowing and breathless. So it is an absolutely socially conscious art film, but it's also an action picture that never lets up in its forward motion.
All right, well, let's take a look at the lives of Tori and Lokita.
Quand on est arrivé en Sicile, il y a eu une femme, Paola, qui venait nous voir dans notre centre et elle nous a appris une chanson de chez elle.
Alla fiera dell'est per 2 soldi un topolino mio padre comprò.
Alla fiera dell'est per 2 soldi un topolino mio padre comprò.
E venne il gatto che si mangiò il topo che al mercato mio padre comprò.
This film has really stuck with me because it's so convincing and the characters are so deserving of a break. The characters share a bond born absolutely of necessity, and because the Dardennes are famous for conducting meticulous research, I think this film is effective shorthand for what refugees, illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, almost anywhere are up against. And I wish that everybody who thinks of asylum seekers with knee-jerk contempt or distaste could see it. It just might plant a kernel of compassion, and it does so in just 88 minutes. It's been picked up for release in the U.S. and many other countries.
All right, well, our viewers in the U.S. and elsewhere should definitely look out for that one. The next film, Lisa, is from first-time feature filmmaker Léopold Legrand. The Sixth Child is an adaptation of a novel. It tells the story of an unconventional arrangement between two couples who meet by chance and then decide to resolve two specific problems in tandem.
Yeah, this is an outstanding film. The premise is incredibly rich, and the 4 central actors are superb. Frank is a hard-working collector of scrap metal, which he hauls in his van and sells to support his wife and 5 children who live together in a camping van in a Roma community. They're dirt poor, but follow a code of honor, and the family is very tight-knit. Frank ends up in a crash and totals his van, and he is assigned a pro bono lawyer, Julian. While far from caricatures, both men are walking examples of their radically different social classes. Now, Frank's wife, Miriam, is pregnant with what will be their 6th child. They don't believe in abortion, but they know they can't possibly raise another child. Julian and his wife, Anna, who is also a lawyer, have tried without success to have a child they desperately desire. Under French law, you can't just say, hey, we've got a baby on the way and you'd love to have a baby but can't, so what do you say we just embark on an inherently tense, completely illegal deal? The way this falls into place is told deftly, empathetically, and in a quietly riveting way.
All right, well, let's take a look at the two problems and somewhat dicey solution of The Sixth Child.
On voudrait reparler de votre proposition.
Pourquoi il n'est pas venu votre mari, là?
Parce que vous êtes son client, il est beaucoup trop exposé.
Mais pourquoi vous adoptez pas un petit normalement?
Parce que c'est un enfer.
Je me demande s'il sait, lui. Si elle fait pas tout ça sans lui dire. Toi, t'es sûr que tu veux?
On a le choix.
C'est quoi cette histoire?
C'est Myriam qui a passé l'écho avec ma carte vitale. C'est moi qui suis enceinte. Soit cet enfant t'es d'accord pour le faire avec moi, soit je le fais toute seule.
Putain, mais pourquoi tu me fais ça?
Parce qu'il y a rien qui marche.
Tu vis sur quelle planète?
Une vie sans enfant, la chambre vide là, c'est sur quelle planète qu'on voit ça?
The film is full of thriller-style details, incredibly human conversations, and a conspiratorial tone that we can only root for. The ethical questions continue to percolate because the well-to-do couple are both lawyers. They know precisely how far outside the law they're stepping. This is outstandingly interesting.
I am definitely intrigued. Finally, Lisa, today is the 5th anniversary of the publication of the article that launched the Me Too movement with revelations about the producer Harvey Weinstein. Tell us, do you feel that a lot has changed in film since then?
Well, France has always had the highest percentage on earth of women behind the camera. About 25% of the movies made in France each year are directed by women, and 25% of 300 movies is a lot. You might argue that more stories are being told about the dilemmas of women, but even when men were in charge, there were always French films talking about women and astonishingly rich, deep, interesting women characters. I think that's part of why French films were so successful the world over, going back to the 40s and 50s and, of course, into the 60s and since, because France has always championed women characters.
All right, well, there is a film coming out in November that tells the story of the journalistic investigation into the allegations against producer Harvey Weinstein. We're going to end with a clip of that film, She Said. It stars Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan as New York Times reporters Joey Cantor and Megan Twohey. Lisa, I want to thank you so much for joining us on today's Cinema Show. For more culture news, remember, you can always head to our website or find us on social media. There is more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Wish you hadn't signed up for this story.
Do you?
No.
The only way these women are going to go on the record
is if they all jump together.
We're all here, Harvey.
Who have you talked to?
I have 3 daughters, and I don't want them to ever accept abuse or bullying. I'll go on the record.
Go write. It's time to write.
this is all going to come out.
I was silenced. I want my voice back.